Hello and welcome to Garden Chatter, where we connect gardeners, bloggers, and experts so we can all grow and learn. I'm excited tonight. We get to talk about roses. We have Karen Kemp-Docksteader on with us, and she is an expert on roses. So before we get to meet her and dive into that, let me check in with my co-host, Bran, and she can share how people can join this conversation. Hey, Bran.
Hey, Adam. It's super easy for people to connect with us tonight. All you have to do is you can go on to connectsharegrow.com. Just plug that into your browser on your mobile even, and you'll see a YouTube video box there. Click the red arrow and it will start streaming live if you're viewing this between 8:30 and 9 o'clock tonight. Also, please engage with us. You can ask comments on that website, or you can also share with us on the hashtag Garden Chatter. And so tonight's going to be a lot of fun. I'm really crazy about roses, and I've been learning so much over the years, and I just started out with a basic shrub rose, and you're just going to love Karen. Adam, do you have any roses in your garden?
You know, I have, I'm kind of the lazy rose care. I have about 5. And actually really enjoy them. Yeah. So they've been pretty low maintenance. I mean, I don't spend a lot of energy on them, and they actually do pretty well for the amount of, effort I put. I prune them and I keep them watered, but yeah. So I love roses. Yeah. Well, let's check in with Karen. How are you doing, Karen?
Well, I'm in very sunny and hot California, so I'm doing pretty good. But it's the heat that has not been here this summer has come back fiercely. So we've had triple digits in the valley. It's very hot here.
Oh, wow. Yeah, it's been kind of hot up here. We're predicted for up to 103 by Friday, but I'm not looking forward to that. So.
No, that's hot for Oregon.
Yeah, well, we're down the hot part. But in any event, yeah, I have heard that you have quite the horticultural roots going way back, and I was wondering if you could share a little bit of how you got to be the sales manager with Weeks Roses. Maybe just fill in some of the blanks on your journey.
Oh, well, when you're as old as I am, older than dirt, that's a long journey. You know?
Well, I can get the summary.
Yeah, I'll give you the cliff notes. I was raised in the horticultural industry. I guess I'm the 7th generation, and our family grew roses and fruit trees. And no matter what once you have it in your blood, it seems you can't escape it, even if you try. Yeah. So the short cliff notes of it is a friend of my dad's actually asked me to come interview back in 2007 for the sales manager job, and that's how I ended up at Weeks, because I've worked in bareroot roses all my life.
Oh, wow. So you've got experience going way, way back.
Yeah.
Well, maybe you can, I don't cut in right there. Being new to growing roses, can you kind of explain what you mean by a bareroot rose gardener?
Oh, certainly. Bareroot roses are roses that are harvested, and they are literally harvested, and the roots are bare. When you pull the rose out of the ground, when we harvest in the fall, they're harvested, they are bundled, and we put them in cold storage, and they are sold actually, this live plant, tops and bottom, but they're not in a pot. They're bare root.
Okay, thanks.
Yeah. So, what does the operation look like at Weeks Roses? So it's in is it Wasco, California, that you're located?
Right. We're in the Central Valley that is currently in the news big time these days because of the water shortage and the drought situation we have. The farm that we're located is just northwest of Bakersfield, California, and it's in the beautiful, rich San Joaquin Valley, and we have about 1,400 acres of roses there.
Wow.
A lot of roses.
Yeah.
A lot of roses. And so, what is your role in this whole operation? So you're the sales manager, and you do new products. How does that work?
Well, being in sales and marketing for a farm product, an organization, it's very busy because you wear lots of hats. So we're in charge of everything from working with the sales force who sells the wholesale product across the United States.
Right.
We do a lot of international shipping also, to planning the marketing for new and exciting roses. Our rose hybridizer, Christian Bedard, works out of the Pomona office, which is in Southern California, and he creates, hybridizes new and exciting roses, extremely disease-resistant roses, and just all sorts of new things for the consumer.
Sounds good. I just want to do a little shout out to David Clark. Thanks for jumping in on the comments. He said, nice to hear Karen tonight. And so maybe David will shoot some questions our way or anything. That'd be great.
That would be great.
Yeah. Brenda, do you have any comments, questions?
Okay, so the farm field where you grow these roses, they're out in California, you're saying?
Yes.
Okay, so I find that pretty amazing because, well, I talked to a breeder before. I can't remember which brand it was or whatever, but they're out in California, and it's like they only pick the ones that survive to actually sell to the garden centers or whatnot, and it's pretty amazing how, I mean, because they basically grow with hardly any water, correct?
Correct. Roses are a very sustainable plant. People don't realize just how little water they need. We do a lot of flood irrigating when the plants get older, but coming through the heat and the drought last year, in my own rose garden, which is right on the farm, I wouldn't water for a week or 2 weeks at a time, just because I just didn't want to use the water, on my roses.
Sure.
And they did fairly well. They came right through the drought.
Yeah. I'm pretty. Now we're the extreme opposite here in Ohio. This past month, it's been crazy, like tons of rain, and my roses are great though. I mean, it's crazy. I'm getting a lot of bugs, so even though I have the beautiful blooms, my leaves don't look really well because they got a lot of bites in them. But bees love roses. And I know you follow me on social media. I'm a big fan of your distant drum rose, and it's now my all-time favorite because the bees are just going nuts in that thing. It's awesome.
Yes.
Yeah.
A distant drum, that's a wonderful rose. That's a very disease-resistant rose also.
Yes. I got two right up in the front of my meadow area, and they don't get any chemicals or anything on them. It's all natural, and it's just beautiful to watch them to go from they go kind of like an orangey and then pinkish orange and then purple and then kind of back to orange. It's pretty cool. Yeah.
That's
anyway,
great.
Sorry.
Yeah, they're lovely. They're lovely. I love distant drums.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can definitely speak to, I don't really water mine much, and they're over on the side of the house, and it's a pretty harsh ground, and they do really well, so they're definitely hardy. I mean, it's amazing. And
yes,
we get hot dry summers.
Yeah, people, I think, damage their roses more with too much water than they do, than water sparingly.
Right. I think saving them where I have them, because of all the rain we've been getting, I have really good tile, because it used to be a farm field out there years ago, like probably 60 years ago. There used to be cattle, and then they had hay out there, or excuse me, that would be, hay that they eat, not straw. And anyways, I think that's what's saving mine, because they don't like to get their feet wet, right?
No, they don't like to stand in the water.
Yeah, sorry. But
that's all right. So I wonder, maybe you could give us a few more hints. Let's say someone has never grown roses before and they want to get started. So we've just established they don't need a lot of water and they don't want to get, flooded wet feet. What are some other tips you could give for someone to get started?
Well, if you're going to use a bareroot rose, or even if you go and purchase one that is already in a pot and blooming, like a Mother's Day gift type rose that you get in May, the secret is to prune the plant well. After you plant it in the ground, make sure you cut it back, and that encourages bloom. It also gives it more energy to force what we call basal breaks, because the more you prune a rose, the bushier or the wider it gets, because it puts out shoots from the side.
So each time you prune a stem, it'll send lateral shoots below where you prune. Is that correct? Okay. Yeah.
Right. When you receive, like, I'm going back to bare root roses. One of the biggest things to get people to do, they get this plant that's got like 12 inches of top growth. You cut that right in half. You go back and you prune that to 6-inch canes, and you've got these stubs of canes that are, jutting up out of the ground. It looks kind of depressing, but actually, all you're buying is energy. So when you prune it back, you're sending that energy back down to the basal breaks, and you'll get more. You'll get a shrubbier, stronger plant.
Now, what time of the year would you do that? You were saying even if you got one in May, or so in early summer or late spring, and you're planting one, how much would you cut it back? Because I know, usually you would do your winter pruning maybe in February or something.
Yes, it depends on where you're located. Usually, I prune twice. When the plants go dormant, I cut them back about 40 or 50%, and then I will cut them again in the spring, right before you start getting really warm weather, to encourage growth. If you're just purchasing a plant, like even if it's let's say if it's a containerized plant, you don't have to prune that severely until it comes, time for it to go to sleep, when it goes into dormancy. So you can enjoy the blooms, on your patio or in your garden until it's time for the plant to go to sleep for the winter, go dormant.
Well, that's good to know. Now, my wife has a question, and she's been, I'm just wondering how much of summer, like, trimming to do. She was out there cutting blooms and cutting stuff back, but so let's say it's like right now, and my roses have been blooming, and I want to cut the blooms. How, is it help to cut it back? Should she just cut, the bloom and that much stem, or how should we do that?
Depends on the type of rose and depend on what she has to do. And I don't mean to be evasive, but if you've got a rose out there that you want to bring in the house, you just simply cut down to another leaf for as long a stem as you want. You don't have to count leaves and say, oh, cut to the 5th leaf. You don't have to do that. If you've got a tiny rose like ketchup and mustard, maybe you cut 2 leaves down or 3 leaves down. Then that's completely different from deadheading. Deadheading is after the rose is spent, the blossom is gone, and it begins to look very sad. Just go out there and just cut off the dead blossoms. That just encourages more blossoms to come through the summer. A lot of the newer varieties will bloom from spring through frost until the first frost. So they should be blooming machines. So the more that you cut and bring in the house, the more joy you will have in the garden too.
All right.
I think it's hilarious you say ketchup and mustard. It's a small rose. Mine stands about 3.5 feet tall. I guess that's kind of small compared to like heirlooms or the tea roses. Yes. Those get kind of tall, right? Mine's just going nuts with all this rain that we've had. I'm going to have to take a picture and tweet it to you after we're done here if it's not too dark. But I probably have like 25 blooms on that thing. And all I do to feed it is in the spring when, I'm kind of scared here in hardiness zone 5B, 6. I'm very careful about pruning the roses because I get scared. I don't know if we're going to get a really cold spell in, like say April even. The weather's been crazy. So I kind of hold off on the pruning. But all I do around the bottom, probably about 3 feet out, mixed in with the mulch, I add an older horse manure, just mixed in with the mulch. Yes. And that's all I do on my roses. And the blooms are just incredible. So it's easy.
Well, that's great, and I'm glad to hear that ketchup and mustard is doing so well in 5B. That is really great.
I'll tweet you a picture. It's amazing. It's gorgeous.
That is great. Now, when you planted your little ketchup and mustard, did you
Mm-hmm.
bury the graft union? Did you bury it pretty deep?
Okay, so I brought the ketchup and mustard home from Biltmore, the Rose event they had a couple of years ago. I actually was a judge of their big Rose event they have there, the Rose Trails, and so it was a I don't know if it wasn't a bare root, it was already like a starter plant. Is that what you would call it? I'm used to vegetables.
Yes.
Is that a starter plant? It's in a
Yes.
Okay, it was like, I think maybe like a 5-gallon bucket, right?
Okay.
Okay. And yeah, I just planted it. It gets full sun. And okay, so I just kind of, where the dirt ended in the pot, that's how
Yes.
deep I made
Right.
sure I put it in and then mulched, right?
Right.
Yeah, and
Right.
that was like June, and it did great. I got quite a few blooms even then, but this year it's just phenomenal, you know?
That's wonderful to hear.
Yeah,
Yes.
it's a
Ketchup
fun
and
rose.
mustard is a blast, and it's a great little rose to bring inside.
Yeah, ketchup mustard. If I wouldn't have like lilies and I have a bunch of, just different lilies around it and sedum, if I didn't have that, I would probably plant some peppers in there because man, ketchup mustard, wouldn't that be awesome on a hot dog and then with the
Yes,
peppers?
it would be. Yes, it would be great.
Just
That's
saying.
great. Yeah.
Cute.
Well, really quick, we had a question from David Clark on the comments here, and he was wondering, he says, do you recommend soaking bare root roses in water before planting?
Oh, absolutely, especially if you get them mail order or they've traveled any distance. What a lot of people don't understand, they confuse watering with hydrating. And it's all about hydrating the roses when you first get them.
Okay.
So immediately when you receive your roses, I have a lot of people who tell me that they they just will soak them, top to bottom. They lay them like in a galvanized tub of water, sometimes overnight. Other people have a secret little fish emulsion or a vitamin bath that they put in there, and that certainly can't hurt either, if they wish to do that. And then you've hydrated the canes. You promptly remove the plant the next day, and you cut that down to 6-inch canes and put it in the ground. That's how that's done.
Yeah, now what about just soil and soil preparation? Now we've soaked the cane and we're ready to plant it. Any hints or comments on that?
Well, actually, Bren touched upon it. If you pre-prep your soil with organic, like fertilizer, there's a coffee ground mixture that is on the market, I understand. There's a lot of good commercial soils like bumper crop and organic, organic potting soils that you can add to your soil to make it more friable is the term to to receive the rose and for it to take up nutrients. The key thing is when you plant it, make sure you dig enough hole that when you put the roots down in there, they spread nicely, and then cover all the way over the graft, especially if you're in the lower zone areas like zone 6, 5, 4. It's very important you cover that crown or that bud union, and then mulch it well. Out here in California and also in a lot of the northern states, they'll take the mulch and they'll rake it up so it looks like a little brown teepee for about 10 days until, and it's wet, the mulch is wet, and they'll hydrate or keep the hydration in. And then you keep peeking to see when the rose throws its first sprouts, its side shoots. Mm-hmm. And then when you see that, you can pull the mulch away. And that means that's called breaking. That's when it breaks dormancy. And that's the only time you really have to TP it until, again, if you're in a cold area, like Ohio or Maryland or Pennsylvania, you can always rake that mulch up over it in the wintertime also to protect it.
Sounds good. So I guess thinking about watering, we already touched on that. It sounds like they don't want wet feet. But they don't need to totally dry out either. So any thoughts, anything else on watering?
I just tell people water deeply. You know, when you water it, it's not necessary to overhead water. That just is a bunch of trouble anyway. You're better off with a soaker hose. If you've got a soaker hose out there, you just turn it on and let it run for like 10 to 15 minutes. And do that like once or twice a week, and that's it. Don't worry about them.
Easy.
Easy. Yeah,
You really
I try
are.
to make it easy as possible.
Yeah.
I kind of have a question for you, being since you're out in California. I really, like, my heart goes out to everybody out there. It's so dry out there, but I also enjoy visiting like the vineyards and the fields out there. And quite a few of the vineyards that I went to, they actually had roses, climbing roses, on the end of a lot of their
Yes.
the grapes. Is there a reason for that, or is it just because it's really pretty, or do you know?
Actually, they're the canaries.
Oh.
Yeah, just like in the coal mines, you have canaries that, you know,
Okay.
when they stop singing and croak, there's gas in the mine.
Okay.
Roses are from ancient times were indicators if there was a problem with, for instance, mildews, powdery or downy mildews. And a lot of the older rose varieties would, as soon as the vineyard people would see that the roses were having problems, they knew it was time to spray the grapes.
Oh, okay.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Okay.
Mm-hmm.
I wonder if I should do that here. I mean, our grapes are doing fine, but that's interesting. Would you? Is there like a specific variety you would do with that? Maybe just the climber, right, or something, or?
It would be the older varieties, because a lot of the newer varieties are disease resistant.
Oh, right.
So they're not very good canaries.
Okay. Right.
Yeah.
Too healthy, too tolerant. Just a couple of shout outs to people here on the comments. Giovanna Chapman said, great rose tips. So thank you, Karen. And also, David was wondering, let's see, where'd it go? Here we go. How deep to bury the graft union for cold climates? You touched on that, but maybe more specifically.
Well, we were having a discussion about that the other day. Christian Bedard, our hybridizer, said, and he's originally from near Montreal, Quebec City. So he says when he buries the crown, or when he buries the graft union, he goes 2 to 3 inches, no problem, in the ground.
Okay.
In Maryland, I don't bury it that far because my frost line in Maryland is not as deep. I probably bury the graft union about 1.5 inches, and then I mulch. I cover with mulch for another about 2 inches.
Wow.
So,
okay.
Yeah.
And Quebec, that's pretty cold up there.
Yes.
That's amazing. Cold. They get roses, you know. I mean, they've got a short growing season too, you know.
That's right.
Yeah, that's cool.
No, I don't really fertilize my roses at all. I mean, they've been in the ground for 5 years, and you know, I know they'd probably be much more vigorous if I did, but they're doing pretty well. So, any thoughts on fertilizing? Is there a best time or certain fertilizers, or is it not really necessary? Maybe it just depends on the soil.
Well, again, you know, every person has what they like to do. A lot of people would advocate the more organic way, using manure teas, using organic fertilizers. There are other fertilizers that you can go into any garden center and say, hey, what is your rose fertilizer that you recommend? And they will show you a blend. They'll show you anything from a basic 10-10-10 type variety. That's not a rose, that's just a basic garden variety. People use that in combination with you know, organics, and it does very well. The best thing to do, I advocate joining rose societies and swap ideas, because that's what they're about. And talk about what works best in your region. That's what I do. Now, during blooming season, I do feed with, I do every 2 weeks. I look for, you know, if they're blooming very, very voluminously, shall we, I do make sure that I give them a liquid feed every 2 weeks.
Mm-hmm.
All right, very good. I need to maybe tend to my roses a little more, but they're doing all right.
Well,
yeah.
There's little.
I'm sorry. Go ahead. What?
No, I said if you're happy with what's going on out there,
Exactly.
they're fine.
Yeah. Well, mostly we are. We do get plenty to cut, and they're fine. Yeah. So here's a pesty question. David Clark asks, what do you recommend for Japanese beetle issues? Now, on the West Coast, I don't even know what Japanese beetles are, thankfully, but they might be coming my way.
Thank goodness.
Actually, I know what they are, but we don't have any. We have other pests, but not those.
They're evil.
They're evil. Well, I'm going to tell you, what we use for Japanese beetles is we use the traps, but you don't put the traps in the middle of your rose garden. You put them on the opposite side.
Yeah.
And that pulls the bugs away from your grapes. It pulls them away from your roses, and you don't get the effect of a swarm.
Right.
Sometimes Japanese beetle swarms are bigger some years than other years. Bren, have you had a big hatch out there, or is it about?
Actually, I just saw my first one a week ago, and that is kind of early. We usually don't get them until after July, but we use the traps as well, and you do. I mean, mine are set out way on the other side of the meadow, because what happens with those traps, if you don't know, they make the beetle come. So
that's right.
Yeah, you don't want them.
Hordes.
Yes.
Swarms. They swarm.
But But if you feel funny about that, I have a gardener friend I remember sharing with me years ago of his beautiful heirloom roses he had, and I asked him, you grow organically, what do you do when it comes time when the bugs are coming? He's just kind of strategically plant them, so he enjoys the bloom, and then once it's done, he has a grass that grows and kind of covers them, so once the bugs attack, you don't really see it, because he thought ahead and planted smart, right?
That's a pretty good idea.
Yeah.
That is good.
One more quick question from David. We're sort of tail end of the fertilizer conversation here. He was just wondering about kelp fertilizers, and if you had any thoughts on that or heard anything about.
I've not used kelp fertilizers, but I know a lot of people who swear by them. So there's a lot of people who they like using the kelp.
I don't know what that is. What, Adam? Do you know what kelp?
Well, it's a seaweed. Kelp. Yeah,
it's
you
seaweed.
broke up for a second there, Karen. We lost your last.
Okay.
Oh,
wow.
Okay.
Yeah.
Okay, sunspot. That's what it is. No, kelp is a seaweed organic fertilizer.
Okay.
It has micronutrients in it, and there's a lot of people that use that fertilizer. On the East Coast, there's coast of Maine has a bumper crop, and they make it with, I'm trying to think, it's got shellfish in it. So that's additional calcium, etc. There are people who swear by, that type of soil also.
Very cool.
Absolutely. So, Karen, you see roses and roses and then more and more.
Yes.
We wonder though, what is your favorite, or can you share any new varieties or trends?
Well, I got to tell you, I have some old favorites, but yeah, I'm a favorite of the month also. There's just so many beautiful roses out there. I just can't say, that's my all-time favorite. We have a new rose for 2016 coming out called Pretty Lady Rose, and Pretty Lady Rose is part of our Downton Abbey series. Downton Abbey is a PBS NBC Universal series that runs, and we have a Downton Abbey Rose series coming along. And the second in the series is this beautiful, luscious, pink, non-stop, ferocious bloomer that just stops you when you walk through the field. Unbelievable garden rose. And fragrant, oh my goodness, very fragrant. And that's brand new. That's a 2016 introduction.
Wow, what was the name of that one again?
Pretty Lady Rose.
Oh, I shouldn't forget that.
Wow.
Pretty Lady.
Yeah, it's named after the character Rose. So she had a good name. We also have another rose that is getting a lot of press out there. The rosarians love it, and the landscapers love it. And that's difficult to have the two, different sides enjoy a rose the same way. And it's called Take It Easy. And Take It Easy is one tough cookie. It's a landscape rose. It's a double knockout hybrid, and it's got all the disease resistance of the knockouts, but it's got the blooming ability and light fragrance of its other parents. So it's a pretty neat rose too. It's also a new introduction. And then another one. See, like I said, I'm flavor of the month. We have a rose called Smokin' Hot.
Oh.
And it is an orangey red with a smoky overtone, like a haze of smoke over the petals. And it is just it's just a red orange smoking hot rose for your garden. And it's a great tea rose, for cutting and bringing it in. So I'm sure we'll have a lot of people who enjoy that one.
Smoking hot. What color is that one?
Yeah, Smoking Hot, that's the one that's kind of an orangey with
okay.
color. Yes.
Okay. So I just tweeted I just tweeted your Pretty Lady under, if people want to look at it, it's under the hashtag Garden Chatter. So I'll look up that hot one.
Look up Smoking Hot, yes.
Smoking Hot. Cute.
The other thing we've got, I don't know how many people know about our home series that has been out for some time, but it's a very hardy rose for, Ohio, Indiana, Pennsylvania. It's a very good landscape rose. We have a red and a pink. This year we came out with a watercolors home run that is absolutely stunning and tough. And it is almost perfectly shaped. You don't have to prune it that much. You just give it its initial pruning, and it grows like a little meatball out there. It's nice and rounded. It's cute. It really is lovely.
Perfect. Well, as you were talking about, tea roses and stuff, I'm not certainly too knowledgeable about roses. What are some of the types? Like what at Weeks Roses? What sort of different types do you have, or different categories, I guess I should say?
Well, we refer to them as categories or classifications, and we'll start with a hybrid tea, because hybrid tea is what people associate with what you cut to bring in these long, elegant flower stems. And hybrid teas are, your cutting roses, your classic rose shape. A grandiflora, which is somewhat similar to a hybrid tea, but the blooms are more in clusters. Again, this is a lovely cutting rose. Any rose you can cut. But the grandiflora is like the hybrid tea, and it has that showy, big blossom. I believe Anna's Promise is classified as a grandiflora. I say that, I'm thinking, but I believe it is. We also have what are considered landscape or shrub roses, and these are roses that are similar to Take It Easy or the Knockout series are referred to Bonica, which is an oldie, a golden oldie. These are shrub roses which are usually planted in multiples of 3s, 5s, etc., and they're used for hedging or for border gardens. Then we have floribundas, and that's the fun category. That's where ketchup and mustard comes from. So you have floribundas, which are multiple flowers on bobbing stems, and they're just a beautiful sweet rose in the landscape. And I was going to say that's like our Easy to Love series is like Living Easy, Easy Going, Julia Child. which is the #1 selling rose in the world, by the way.
Oh, wow.
And it's a beautiful yellow rose.
Gorgeous. Somebody tweeted the other day. I don't mean to interrupt you, but
No.
When you look at it, you'll understand this. Somebody tweeted it was one of the foodies that it looked like the color yellow is like butter. It's like, oh my God, that's so Julia Child. It really is. And I look at it, it's like, oh my gosh, the blooms are amazing, just clusters, right?
Yes. Oh yes. And Julia would not be a very good canary rose because she's so disease resistant. That is one tough cookie. She is one tough cookie. And then of course we have miniature roses. So, you know, little minis. And we even have miniature climbers that are so cute for urban gardens. You know, patio climbers, that sort of thing.
Well, that sounds cool. I haven't seen any miniature climbers. Do you have a name? Is there a name of one?
I was trying to think of the one we introduced last year, and I'm drawing a blank. Hang on a second. I'll find out what it is.
I can Google it. We're good. I was just curious because sometimes
that drives me crazy.
Sorry. Sometimes when you go to the garden center, they quite often, at least in my area, the IGCs, they don't put, you know, this is a hybrid, this is a tea rose, this is, you know, an heirloom. So, you know, you really don't know except if it's a climber or, you know, that type of thing. But they do write, you know, what variety, you know, if it's an iceberg or if it's a distant drum or Julia Child, you know. That's why I asked the name.
Exactly. No, it's called Top of the World.
Oh.
That's the name of it. And it's orange. It was a 215 introduction, I believe. And it is a cute little orange climber, and it's fragrant. We're going to we don't have a name for, we've got another mini climber coming out in 2017. So if you've got some ideas for mini climber names, by all means, give me a call or tweet me a name.
How big would these get? I mean, they're mini, but are we talking 6, 8, 10 feet, or what? How much? What are we?
I'd say the mini climber, Top of the World, I've only seen it get about 4 to 5 feet tall. It's just a perfect pot plant for like a patio garden.
Yeah.
Wow, that's cool. Yeah. Well, we had a couple more questions here. So Beth Billstrom was wondering if you have any tips to quickly clean up dropped rose petals. She has 2 William Bethans, but I'm not sure how to pronounce that, with tons of blooms.
So cleaning up rose petals?
Yeah, that's what she was doing.
Okay, I would use a leaf blower if there was that many of them. Certainly, I'm old-fashioned. I like to go out there and rake things. But yeah, that's all.
Yeah,
I'm the type of person that leaves the rose petals on the ground for a while.
Yeah, can be pretty, absolutely.
Yeah.
You kind of want to be careful though because of you want to clean out below the roses, right? Because of black spot and things like that. Right.
That's why I do. It's therapeutic for me. I can go out there, rake any of the debris up, and then replace the mulch. If you've got something though that's that many petals, you may want to get a leaf blower, you know, directional, so you're not blowing the limbs of your roses to pieces.
Right.
But that might be a quicker way to do it if you have a lot of petals.
Sure.
All right. Well, tons of good information tonight. That's fun. So maybe we'll start thinking about wrapping it up. If anyone has any last questions or comments, you could tweet them at Garden Chatter, #Garden Chatter, or you could, if you're on the conversation, you can go ahead and post them. Brenda, do you have any last questions, comments? Or?
Oh, boy. No, I think you did a great job, Karen. Thank you so much for sharing with us. I was going to ask about the containers or just mention that you can grow roses in containers. There's some great varieties for that, but you covered it. It's awesome.
I'm talking about this.
They're kind of breaking up.
Yeah.
Okay.
It's okay.
I just said it's wonderful talking with you. It's always great to talk about roses.
All right.
It's a great rosy day, right?
Yeah.
Well, thank you so much for taking your time out and joining us. I know you were just blown across the country and had a lot going on, so really appreciate it. I had a quote, and I need to maybe look at my sheet here. It's a rose quote, and this is from Abraham Lincoln, and he said, "We can complain because rose bushes have thorns, or rejoice because thorn bushes have roses."
Aw.
Right.
Wonderful. Thank you.
Yeah. All right. Thank you.
Thank you.